I stood there, paralyzed, watching the glass doors of the Emirates Business Lounge slide shut behind my husband. Ethan didn't look back, not once. 7 years of marriage, thousands of shared mornings, and a million whispered promises, and he just walked away. I was standing in Dubai International Airport with no phone, no wallet, and no ticket home. It was like I'd never existed to him. He hadn't just left me, he'd erased me. My name is Maia. I'm 32 years old, and 48 hours ago, I thought I was one half of a power couple. I never thought my own flesh and blood, the man who held my hands when my father died, would do this to me. But as I stood there in the middle of that terminal, the air conditioning feeling like ice against my skin, I realized I didn't know the man I had married at all. I'm still shaking while typing this. If you've ever been through something similar, ever been made to feel like you're disposable by the person you trusted most, please subscribe and let me know in the comments. I really need to know I'm not alone in this right now. Before this nightmare, I was Maia Montgomery. Well, Maia Miller Montgomery. I married into the Montgomery real estate empire. Ethan's father, Charles, is a man whose net worth makes my successful career in architecture look like I'm running a lemonade stand. For 7 years, I tried so hard to prove I wasn't a gold digger. I worked 60-hour weeks, I paid for my own car, I even split the grocery bills. I wanted to be his equal, but to the Montgomerys, I was always just a guest in their world. The trip to Dubai was supposed to be our reset, our 7th anniversary. Ethan booked everything: first-class suites, the Burj Al Arab, private desert safaris. He told me he wanted to show me the world his family's money could buy. Like a fool, I agreed. I thought he was trying to be romantic. I didn't realize he was actually just building a cage. I looked down at my hands. They were trembling so hard I had to shove them into my pockets. I didn't even have my passport. Ethan had offered to keep it in his travel wallet for safety. I was stranded 7,000 miles from home with nothing but the clothes on my back. I felt a sob building in my chest, a hot, suffocating wave of panic. That's when I felt a presence behind me. I turned around, expecting a security guard to tell me I couldn't loiter. Instead, I saw a man in a tailored Italian suit, looking at me with eyes that had seen way too much. He leaned in, the scent of expensive sandalwood and something dangerous hitting me, and whispered 6 words that would change the trajectory of my life forever. Pretend you're my wife right now. The rot didn't start at the airport. It started at breakfast on our last morning. We were at the Al Mahara restaurant, that famous underwater place with the floor-to-ceiling aquarium walls. It's beautiful, sure, but sitting there watching sharks circle while you eat Eggs Benedict felt a little too on the nose. Ethan's phone was buzzing every 30 seconds. It was like a nervous tick. He wouldn't even look at me. "Ethan, can you please put that away?" I asked. I tried to keep my voice soft, but my heart was already starting to thump against my ribs. "It's our anniversary. Can we just have 1 hour where the Montgomery Board of Directors doesn't join us for breakfast?" He didn't even look up from the screen. "It's the Singapore deal, Maia. It's closing today. My father expects me to handle it." "Your father always expects you to handle something when we're finally together," I said. I could feel that familiar edge creeping into my voice, the one that always made me feel like the crazy one. "We've spent this entire trip on your conference calls. We're in one of the most incredible cities on earth, and I'm having a romantic dinner with your AirPods." He finally looked up, and the coldness in his eyes made my breath hitch. It wasn't anger, it was disappointment, like he was looking at a faulty piece of equipment. "Some of us have responsibilities that don't stop just because we're on vacation, Maia," he said, his voice flat. The implication was clear. I had a little architecture job. He had a legacy. "I have responsibilities too, Ethan. I have a firm to run, but I prioritize us," I replied. He sighed, that long, suffering sound he made whenever I tried to stand up for myself. Not everyone can afford to disconnect from reality, Maya. My family's company employs thousands of people. Decisions I make affect real lives. What do you do? Draw pretty pictures of houses? The air left the room. It felt like he'd slapped me. 7 years, and that was all I was to him? A hobbyist? A supporting character in his grand epic? The argument escalated fast after that. Years of resentment came bubbling up over fresh mango and expensive coffee. He accused me of being insecure about his success. I accused him of treating our marriage like a business transaction. By the time we were in the car to the airport, the silence between us was so thick I could practically feel it pressing against my skin. I kept thinking, we'll fix this when we get home. We just need to get out of this heat. But as we pulled up to the terminal, Ethan did something he'd never done before. He took my passport and my boarding pass from the driver and didn't hand them back. He just walked toward the check-in counter, leaving me to scramble after him like a lost dog. At the airport, Ethan was a different person. He spoke rapid fire to the airline representatives, his hands gesturing elegantly, looking every bit the high-powered executive. I just stood there. I felt small, smaller than I'd ever felt in my life. "Here," he said, finally shoving a slip of paper at me. He wouldn't look at me. "Gate B7. Flight leaves in 2 hours." I should have looked at it. I should have checked the name, the seat, the status, but I was so hurt and so desperate to maintain some shred of dignity that I just tucked it into my pocket. "We need to talk about what you said at breakfast," I said, my voice shaking. "Not here, Maya," he snapped. We went through security separately. He had some kind of black diamond pass that let him breeze through a private lane while I was ushered into the regular queue. I watched him disappear behind the frosted glass of the VIP section. I felt this pit in my stomach, this sinking realization that he wasn't just walking away from me. He was practicing what it felt like to be without me. I found a quiet corner near the gate and tried to breathe. It's just a fight, I told myself. Every marriage has rough patches. We'll get home, see a counselor, and work it out. Then I saw him. Ethan was walking toward me, but he wasn't alone. He was rolling his suitcase, and his face was a mask of cold iron. "I can't do this anymore," he said. "No lead up, no emotion." "Ethan, stop. We're both upset." "No," he interrupted. "I'm done, Maya. Done pretending this marriage is anything more than a burden. I'm tired of watching you sulk because you can't keep up with my life. I'm tired of feeling guilty for being a Montgomery." "I never asked you to feel guilty." I stood up, my face hot. "I just wanted to be your partner, not a charity case." He laughed. It was the cruelest sound I've ever heard. "Partner? Maya, be honest. My family paid for the firm you started. My connections got you your biggest clients. Without me, you're just another architect in a sea of thousands." He leaned in close, his voice a lethal whisper. "I'm going home, alone. I need space to decide if you're even worth the legal fees it would take to keep you around." He turned on his heel and walked toward the business lounge. I sat there, stunned. I thought he was just being dramatic. I thought he was just trying to hurt me. I didn't realize he was actually executing a plan. I didn't realize in 10 minutes I would be a ghost in the system. I waited 30 minutes. I figured he'd cool off, he'd come back, or he'd be waiting at the gate. When they called for boarding, I joined the line, clutching that boarding pass like a lifeline. The gate agent scanned it. A red light flashed. She scanned it again, frowned. "I'm sorry, ma'am," she said, her voice dropping into that professional bad news tone. "This ticket has been canceled." "That's impossible," I said, my voice rising. "My husband, he's on this flight. Ethan Montgomery. Check the reservation." She typed something into the computer, her expression shifting from confusion to pity. "The ticket was canceled 15 minutes ago by the primary account holder. You are no longer authorized to travel on this booking." The world started to tilt. Then sell me another one. I'll pay for it myself. I'm sorry, ma'am. All flights to New York are fully booked for the next 3 days, and even if they weren't, a last-minute international ticket is $8,000. $8,000. I pulled out my wallet. It was empty. I realized then Ethan hadn't just kept my wallet for safety. He'd taken it. I reached for my phone to call him, to scream at him, to beg him. It didn't matter which. No service. No wars. He'd canceled my international roaming. He'd cut the line. I stood there in the middle of the terminal watching the massive Boeing 777 push back from the gate through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Somewhere on that plane, Ethan was sitting in a leather seat, probably ordering a glass of Krug, feeling relieved that he'd finally dropped the dead weight. I was completely alone. I had $40 in cash in my pocket and the clothes I was wearing. My credit cards maxed out from trying to keep up with the lifestyle he insisted we live. My savings in a joint account he controlled. For the first time in my life, I was truly terrifyingly helpless. I sat down on a hard plastic bench, the reality of my situation crashing down on me like a tidal wave. I could call the embassy, but I wasn't a crime victim. I was just a woman whose rich husband had dumped her. I could call my brother, but he was a teacher with 3 kids. He didn't have $8,000 lying around. I put my head in my hands and felt the first hot tear slide down my cheek. I was a Montgomery wife an hour ago. Now, I was a nobody. That's when I saw the shoes. Custom-made Italian leather loafers. They stopped right in front of me. "You look like you're about to faint," the man said. I looked up. He was tall, maybe late 30s, with the kind of effortless confidence that usually makes me want to roll my eyes. But right now, he looked like an angel. "I'm fine," I lied, wiping my face. "No, you're not," he said, sitting down next to me without asking. "You're American, you're stranded, and let me guess, husband trouble?" I don't know why, but I told him everything. Maybe it was the shock. Maybe it was the fact that he didn't look like he was judging me. I told him about Ethan, the Montgomerys, the canceled ticket, and the fact that I didn't even have a way to call a taxi. The man, Julian Vance, listened in silence. When I finished, he didn't offer me a tissue. He offered me a deal. "In 5 minutes, a woman is going to walk through those doors," Julian said, leaning closer. "Her name is Serafina. She's my ex-wife, and she spent the last year trying to ruin my life because I dared to leave her. She tracked me here. She thinks if she catches me alone, she can manipulate me into a reconciliation that's actually just a legal trap." He looked me dead in the eye. "If I'm with a new wife, someone who looks like they belong in my world, she loses her leverage. She backs off, at least long enough for me to get to my flight." "You want me to pretend to be your wife?" I asked. "I want you to stand next to me and look like you've never been happier. In exchange, I'll get you home. First-class ticket tonight. Plus, I'll give you $10,000 cash for the inconvenience, and I'll let you use my phone." It sounded insane. It sounded like a scam. But then I saw the look in his eyes. It wasn't predatory. It was desperate, masked by a $3,000 suit, but it was there. "Why me?" I whispered. "Because strangers can't betray you. They don't have enough history to know where to twist the knife." He held out his hand. "Do we have a deal, Maia?" I looked at his hand, then at the gate where Ethan had abandoned me. I realized that if I wanted to get back at Ethan, if I wanted to show him I wasn't just a supporting character, I needed to get home, and I needed resources. "Deal," I said, taking his hand. "Good," Julian whispered, pulling me up, "because she's here. Look happy, darling. Our lives depend on it." The woman who walked through the doors was terrifying. She was beautiful in a way that felt sharp, like a diamond-tipped blade. She scanned the crowd with the eyes of a predator, and the second she locked onto Julian, her face twisted into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Julian wrapped his arm around my waist, pulling me flush against him. It felt surprisingly natural. "Darling," he said, loud enough for her to hear, Should we grab a coffee before our flight to Paris? Whatever you want, sweetheart, I replied, leaning my head on his shoulder. I felt him relax just a fraction. Serafina reached us in seconds. She ignored me completely, her eyes fixed on Julian. Julian, we need to talk, now. There's nothing left to say, Serafina, Julian said, his voice smooth as silk. The lawyers have the paperwork. It's over. Who is this? She demanded, finally flicking her gaze toward me like I was a piece of gum on her shoe. This is Maia, Julian said, squeezing my waist. My wife. We were married in Monaco last weekend. Private ceremony. Very intimate. The look on Serafina's face was worth more than the $10,000. She looked like she'd just swallowed glass. You're lying. You're playing a game. Believe what you want, Julian shrugged. But my driver is waiting, and we have a plane to catch. Come on, Maia. We walked away, and I could feel her eyes burning into my back. I half expected her to scream, to grab us, to cause a scene. But Julian didn't flinch. We walked straight out of the terminal and into a waiting black Mercedes with diplomatic plates. The moment the door closed, Julian let out a breath so long I thought he'd been holding it since he arrived in Dubai. Thank you, he said quietly. You have no idea what you just did for me. Is she really that dangerous? I asked. She doesn't like to lose, he said, and she especially doesn't like to lose to someone she thinks is beneath her. He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of real respect in his eyes. I'm keeping my end of the deal. You're going home tonight, first class. But I have one more favor to ask. What? Stay with me in the lounge until the flight. If she sees me alone again, she'll try something. Just one more hour of being Mrs. Vance. Okay, I said. I'll stay. We spent the next few hours in the most luxurious lounge I'd ever seen. Julian bought me a new phone, a new wardrobe from the duty-free boutiques, and a meal that cost more than my monthly rent. But more importantly, he gave me the one thing Ethan had spent 7 years taking away. He gave me the truth. Your husband is a coward, Maia, he said, sipping his wine. He didn't leave you because you weren't enough. He left because he knew he was losing control over you. People like him and Serafina, they need to be the sun. They need everyone else to be planets revolving around them. The moment you started to shine on your own, he had to eclipse you. What do I do now? I asked. You document, he said. Every text, every record of that canceled ticket, every witness. You tell your story before he can rewrite it. And then you take him for everything he's worth. He handed me a business card. This is my lawyer. He specializes in high-conflict divorces. Tell him I sent you. He'll take your case for free, just to see the look on a Montgomery's face when they lose. When I landed at JFK 12 hours later, I didn't go home. I didn't go to the apartment Ethan's family owned. I went to my brother's couch. I turned on my new phone and saw a text from Ethan. Maia, where are you? We need to talk. I'm at the house. I felt a surge of cold, hard power. For 7 years, I would have dropped everything to answer that text. I would have apologized for things I didn't do just to keep the peace. Not today. I typed back 4 words. Talk to my lawyer. The divorce took 8 months. It was a bloodbath. Ethan tried everything. He claimed I'd abandoned him in Dubai. He claimed I'd been having an affair with Julian Vance. He even tried to say I'd stolen from the company. But Julian's lawyer was a shark. We had the documentation of the ticket cancellation. We had the gate agent statement. We had the phone records showing he'd cut my service while I was in a foreign country. The epic revenge wasn't just the money, though the settlement was enough to buy my own firm and the building it's in. The revenge was the public exposure. Julian's lawyer leaked the details of the abandonment to the press. The Montgomery legacy took a massive hit. Shareholders don't like it when the face of the company is caught leaving his wife in the middle of a desert without a passport. Ethan was forced to step down from the board. Last I heard, he's living in a smaller house in Connecticut, married to a woman who understands his family's importance, which is code for she's a trophy who doesn't talk back. As for me, I rebuilt. I'm no longer Maia Miller Montgomery, I'm just Maia Miller. My firm is doing better than ever because my clients know I'm a survivor. And every few months, I get a text from Julian. We aren't a couple, life isn't a Hallmark movie, but we're friends, real friends, who know what it's like to be hunted by the people who were supposed to protect us. Standing at that airport in Dubai, I thought my life was over. I thought I'd lost everything. But I was wrong. I hadn't lost my life. I'd just lost the weight that was keeping me from flying. If you're reading this and you feel like you're at your breaking point, remember this. Your worth isn't determined by who stays. It's determined by who you become after they leave. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is being left behind, because that's when you finally figure out how to lead.